Folks, we are live. And Raina, welcome to the sports section. We've had a few of your teammates on as well, and I will roll the ball out, and Zach, take it over.
All right, so as Matt said, Raina, welcome to the sports section. How's your summer going?
Thank you very much. My summer's going good, action-packed in the beginning, and now I have a little bit of time, a little bit to myself and working out and getting prepared for the fall ball season coming up, and then obviously for the spring season.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So congratulations on completing your career with the women's lacrosse team at Stony Brook. We can pretty much say that the 4 seasons that you've had there from 2018 to this year, 2021, look like quite an accomplishment from you when you played both offense and defense. What could you say about everything that you've done as far as your contribution for the team?
First, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate all of that. And, playing at Stony Brook has been, the best years of my life. It's been an awesome ride. I've played with some of the best players. And now I'm about to go into my 5th year and leading the team and, playing not both sides of the ball. I don't know anymore, but it was definitely a good experience to be able to play both and, test that a little bit. But it's been really awesome, and I'm super glad that I've been able to have my college career here.
Yeah, Raina, thanks for calling in. And I mean, it was an incredible 2021 season for you. But something where just going back a year ago, people in your position really weren't sure what was going to happen. Obviously, with the pandemic first hitting, canceling what was looking to be a pretty good 2020 season, to kind of take us back through from the time when, the 2020 season was canceled, the uncertainty of everything, and just how you as an athlete were able to manage dealing with all of this, uncertainty of the future.
Right. It was definitely difficult. I know for, our team and for every other, team and person out there. But I remember coming out hot in the beginning of the season. We just beat Syracuse. We were on top of the world. And then, some of the season goes by, and then next thing you know, before we even know it, season's canceled. And we found out over Twitter, you know what I mean? So that was crazy. And then just having so much time, to ourselves, basically locked up in our homes. It was definitely difficult coming back to school. I'm sure it was a pretty big adjustment for everybody, going from online and not going to school at all to then, being back in action. And the fall was different, but, schools, do what they needed to do in order to prevent COVID. Like, that was the biggest thing. And I think Stony Brook did a great job of that. And I think that we had a really good, productive fall last year. But yeah, it was definitely difficult adjusting and all of that stuff. But we came out of it, and we had a really good season.
So while you and the rest of your team were on lockdown last year during an extended offseason right before fall ball, since it didn't seem like you were able to be with your teammates in person, it seemed like the best way to be with them was virtually. How did you manage to keep in touch with them as far as work towards your own kind of training regimen, especially to keep the chemistry building between each other, even though you couldn't be there physically with each other?
We just did the best that we could in order to keep in touch, through our computers, through our phones, through Zoom. Zoom was a huge thing that we picked up, and we did a couple of big team Zooms, just checking on everybody, see how everyone was doing, and, just a chit chat. It's nice to see everybody. It was nice to see everybody's faces and, see how everyone was doing. And, we were all bored. So it was like the highlight of our day to see everybody. And it was cool. So we did the best we could. We texted in group chats a lot more, tried to keep things fun. Definitely a little bit harder to build the chemistry that way, but we did what we could. And we did it the best that we could.
And with that, I mean, it was a big upcoming year for you last season, because again, as a senior coming in, really turning into now a leader of the team with all of the graduates over the past year or two, and especially for someone in that midfield defensive position, a lot of great names over just the past 2 or 3 years that you were part of the program, in those positions. So what was it like really adjusting to that leadership position on the team?
It was a little bit of adjustment at first, but I think that I had a lot of people and role models before me that helped pave the way for that. I had when I was, a freshman, the Kylies and the Courtney Murphys and then the Allies and Mackenzie Burns and all those great people that set the example, helped me see how, like, what I wanted to be, how I wanted to be a captain, all of that good stuff. And I think that taking on more responsibility this upcoming year is exciting. I'm excited to, take that role and, help lead my team to somewhere that maybe we've never even been before.
Agreed. And for a lot of folks, especially listening in, a lot of young girls, whether starting out lacrosse, playing high school lacrosse, listening in, they know the names, obviously, as you said, Kylie O'Miller, Courtney Murphy on the offensive end, Mackenzie Burns defensively. They know how great these girls are. But someone being there on the field and off the field as well, can you kind of talk about how the greats like them really open up this game and kind of see what regular folks like myself and the rest of us on the call kind of don't really get being off the field?
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that these people, do for us that we don't even see. Coach always told us was to walk around with our eyes open, always watch what the people that are older than you that they're doing. So, they're always setting the example, and that's something that I always wanted to do for, my younger teammates. On the field, they're the ones to always pick you up. They're the ones that always, if you make a mistake, tell you to shake it off, just get the next one. They constantly build that confidence up, and they hold people accountable, which I think is really important. But at the same time, that they're your teammates. They're always there for you. They're the people that are going to get you through every single day. They're going to, be there for you. So I think it's super important, and it's a lot of things that people don't see, but it's definitely there.
So, Raina, this past season, when Haley Dillon was out for the remainder of the season after she suffered an injury against Boston University in the home opener, Joe Spallina made the decision to transfer you to what looked like a full-time role on the defense. You had lots of experience. You had experience playing defense, and you had more time playing offense in your career. But what was it like for you with this major shift in your role on the team, as it was more of a conversion to seeing more time trying to keep opponents at bay?
I think it was really cool. Actually, it was a good experience, and it was a great opportunity for me to step in to a different role and learn that position. At first, I was definitely nervous. I had never ever played in that position before, and I remember exactly when it happened. I was upset, and next thing I know, I'm being thrown into the game playing backer for the first time in my life. But I thought it was really cool to be able to step in and do that for my team, for my teammates, and my coaches, and try to do my best to put out and play right at my best for my team. And it's a big role, but I'm glad that I was able to step in and help. And it was frustrating for a little while because at first I didn't feel like it was really clicking. I was getting, a little angry, but I remember one day in practice, I looked over at Coach Greg and I was like, Coach Greg, why? I'm right there. Why am I not getting this? He goes, you're right there. It's going to click. You're right there. It's going to click. I'm like, all right. And then eventually it started to click more and more, and I started to string together better games. And after that, I just felt more confident. And I started to enjoy it a little bit more towards the end, for sure.
And we really saw how that confidence that you eventually established as a defender really came into fruition. You had a great line of stats with 32 ground ball pickups, 23 caused turnovers, 10 draw controls, and winning the Defensive Player of the Year in the American League East alongside UAlbany Clancy Rudy. How does that tell you about your transition from offense to defense going well?
Yeah, it was definitely really awesome. And it's something that I'm very, appreciative of. I think that I'm super proud of everything that happened. I never thought that it honestly would have. And it's just a really cool experience, the co-defensive player of the year. Of course, it being something that's I never, I'm proud of it, but it's something that still gets me just a little bit. It's that's the one thing for me. But that just gives me more motivation to be better.
And it's remarkable, really, because again, as you said, you weren't a backer, for your career up until that point. I mean, obviously, coming into the program, you were a midfielder, more of an attack front player, obviously on the wing over the past couple of years, and then now transitioning to the back. And you talk about your shoulders at first, obviously, but at the same time, where did you really find that you were able to make it click and realize that this is a role that you'd be able to really succeed in?
Honestly, it was a lot of help from my teammates and from my coaches. You know, they always helped me give that little boost. They were always helping me, whether it was in practice, in a game. I was getting coached from the sidelines. Haley too. Haley was always, you know, giving me pointers and stuff in games and practice. And without them, it wouldn't have happened, to be honest. But they were a really big help. They always boosted me up and told me I'm right there. They told me that, you know, like I'm going to get it. It's going to happen. And they were always, you know, very confidence boosting. And they also made me, you know, push harder in practice to get those balls, to get those interceptions and everything like that. So they were a really big help in that part.
Yeah, it was a really strong back. Obviously, yourself, Cindy Gagnon was a veteran player. Think of that defense leading the way. Julia Markey, of course, playing right alongside you. But someone who I think really wowed a lot of us, along with yourself, was someone in Claire Levy, who, in a sense, almost took your offensive role in a sense to where she became that two-way player that not a lot of people, I think, really predicted she would, especially just coming out of, I think, her first full season, or rather this being her first full season.
Yeah, Claire is awesome. You know, she's super fast. She's aggressive. She gets out on ball, you know, like great feet. And for a freshman, she came in and she wasn't afraid. You know, she stepped in that spot and she made it hers, basically. And I'm really proud of her. She's somebody that I've grown like a great relationship with on and off the field. And she's someone that I'm excited to see how she develops as a player as time goes on.
Yeah, I think we all could agree. She's really going to be a vocal point of that attacking front next season. Obviously, seeing a couple of legends, future Hall of Famers in Terrell Miller, Allie Kennedy graduating, you know, at least for me, I think the door's open for that next player to really burst on the seams. And I think she's got to be a front runner to really capitalize on that opening.
Yeah, I definitely think that she's going to, as the years go by and as time goes by, she's going to really step up and she's going to be somebody who has a really, really big impact on the team for sure.
Yeah, you see a lot of impact, and especially with what the future looks like. And it appears like Siobhan Rafferty could also be a part of that, especially for next season. And you got to say, it was really quite a blessing to see Siobhan Rafferty finally come back this season after she couldn't play during the shortened season last year due to that ACL injury that she sustained during fall. How relieved and how did you feel it was very important for her to be fully healthy once again?
Yeah, Siobhan is one of our best two-way midfielders. She could run forever, and you know it stunk. She's a great person, and to see her, you know, go down with such a terrible injury that takes a while to get back, it stings a little bit. But she was motivated. She crushed her rehab, and seeing her back on the field was relieving. You know, she's awesome. So I'm super happy, and she's also another person who has such a huge impact on the team.
Yeah, I think something really cool, especially about the position you're in now, rather, is just seeing how you and your teammates and really your classmates like Siobhan Rafferty, Haley Dillon, you know, Jessie Arline was off the top of my head, you know, really grown and taking big roles on this team. We're coming in all as freshmen. Everyone was really fighting for a spot on a team where literally anyone could take a leadership role or take a really dominating role. How fun has it been really establishing you and your classmates as yourselves as leaders over the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, over the past couple of seasons, you know, as you grow and as you get older, you automatically fill those leading positions, and sometimes you don't even know it. Now we're the fifth years, as which is really weird to say, but now we're the example. We're the people that are leading the team. We're the ones that are, pushing our teammates to do their best, showing them the ropes. So I think it's really cool. And obviously, as the years go by, opportunities open. And I think that now, it's our time to lead the team, and it's our time make an impact and be a really strong and sturdy senior class.
So you're definitely confirming you are coming back for the 2022 spring season. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
All right, good, because we saw that you were a senior, but it seems like you're allowed to use that 5th year of eligibility because of COVID and the shortened 2020 season.
Yep, COVID allowed all of us to come back for that year and follow up on that unfinished business. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, and that unfinished business was really the understatement for Allie Kennedy and Taryn Miller. Just a few weeks after COVID shut down 2020, they proclaimed they would come back for a 5th year. And you knew, like everybody else, Joe Spallina and the rest of the squad knew that their return would be huge to keep this team at a high level that they really made an example of this past season. Like, it was really big. And what was your reaction, your first reaction to when you found out that they said they were coming back?
I was so excited to coming back, and honestly, it didn't surprise me at all. I know the type of people that they are, and I know that they're not the type of people to just leave their college careers open-ended like that. They want to write their own ending. They want to finish what they started. So I was really excited to have another year with them, because that year really stunk with COVID cutting our season short. I remember us all sitting, in the gym. Sean was talking to us, and the next thing you know, our whole season's canceled. And, there were tears. The seniors were so upset. We didn't know what was going to happen. But then hearing that they were going to come back just honestly was a big relief and a big gas of excitement for sure.
Yeah, and again, the season as well, where you're just going back even further to your first 2 seasons as an underclassman, where, freshman year, you really can't get any better than perfect, 18-0, ultimately until the final loss there. And then the following year, the team, it has a poor season by Stony Brook standards, still amongst the top 20 best, top 15 best programs in the nation, going 16-5. And that cut 2020 season, did you really feel like your team was close to reaching that peak they hit back in your freshman season?
I think it could have been, and I think we're the type of team that gets better throughout the season. Like I said earlier, we came out hot when we first played Syracuse. We beat them by 1, and it was a great game, and it showed all of us what our potential could have been. And, unfortunately that was cut short, but that just gave us more motivation to, come out even better for this past season.
Yeah, and you're a big reason for that win as well, if that draw control in the last minute, helping Stony Brook ice out the clock with that 17-60 win. Can I just talk about that? Because I know that's one of yours and a lot of your teams as well, kind of greatest memories playing for Stony Brook was that whole lead up, just going Syracuse, all the pressure there, being the primetime game to open up the 2020 season.
Oh, it was by far my best memory of playing for the lacrosse team. I remember coming out, we came out slow, and we were down by, I believe, like 4 or maybe even 5. And then we came back, and at halftime it was tied. We went into the locker room was like a energy that was completely unmatched. Everyone was so excited, and you could just tell that everybody who was playing on the field, who was on the sideline, coaches, doesn't even matter. The fans, our fans even too, were just completely, so excited. You could just tell that the energy was great and that we were going to come out and do everything we could to win. And that was a game that was unforgettable for sure. And at the end, I remember they started making a comeback, and I remember landing up on the draw circle, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, if this comes to me right now and I don't get it, that could be a problem. And I remember it going up, and I remember catching it and running, and I actually believe I screamed when I got the ball. I was that excited.
Energy.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was awesome.
Yeah, I gotta say, you gotta put that down as one of your favorite memories playing with Stony Brook by far. But that's not so best, because also I gotta imagine one of your favorite memories, one of your finest performances so far of your career was back in the 2019 tournament. You guys went to Maryland, played against James Madison, round 1, low scoring, game went to overtime, and it was because of you that Nicole Beretta was able to cash in on that game-winning goal against Molly Doherty. What was that moment like for you, being able to spot Beretta wide open while Spolina was saying to her, finish it off?
No, it was really awesome. I remember we came out of that timeout. I remember if it was a timeout or as soon as the game ended and we went to go into overtime, we had this plan to run a play. And I believe I'm the one who actually messed it up. So it was good that I was able to make up for it. But I remember the ball swinging super fast, and JMU plays a zone. So Allie Kennedy went to, she stepped in, two people slid to her. I was just the next pass. I look around, peek in the 8, and I see Nicole Beretta coming from that elbow, and I just hit her there. And, that was a cut that she was really good at, and she was a great finisher. So I was confident that she was going to, throw that right in the cage. And that was really exciting too. That was definitely one of my top moments as well from my time playing at Stony Brook.
And it's an awesome moment too, as not only as commentators, but just fans. Obviously, again, a season where by Spolina standards, you're underperforming. You're really not, but there's a season where really a lot of teams and analysts would have overlooked Stony Brook, and I thought you were able to send a final message that, hey, you really don't want to overlook this team, because as you proved against Syracuse, this team has not only the potential but the power to really take on and beat virtually anyone.
Right, and I think we have our team has. I think that we're a very blue collar team, and I think that we aren't afraid to play anybody. Really, we're ready for the challenge. We're ready to take it up, and we're going to go out and play our hardest in every game.
Well, I think another thing too is just the versatility on both ends. So quickly, I think let's first off defense, in the sense of where this team really runs a lot of zone, pattern zone defense, and more often than not, especially in conference play, it works to perfection. What is that training process like for you, and really, what is it you guys or you girls focus on the most in terms of doubling up or playing zone defenses on both edges of the wing?
During practice, we focus a lot on ball defense, on ground balls, but nothing really happens if you don't fly out to the ball, if you don't pressure, if you don't sell out on defense. One of coach's biggest things is selling out on defense. If you can't play defense, you can't play offense. If you can't play defense, then you can't play. That's one of his biggest things. So it's really just a big effort thing on defense and going all out and getting out on the ball. We try to work a lot on, the ground balls and being in the right place and our angles. And but pressure is one of our key components in that defense.
Yeah, I thought it's something you did very well. Obviously, the amount of caused turnovers and ground balls you were able to scoop up last season. And really, I thought, especially in terms of your stick checking and ability, again, to really force the turnovers. Is that something where you really see that aided by that zone defense?
Yeah, that's something that, I didn't pick up on really early. It's something that I had to, grow into. It's something that I had to learn. I needed to learn how to be in the right place at the right time. I needed to learn the ins and outs. But towards the end, every time that did happen, it was a really good feeling to know that, I just, made that play. It was something that it's very rewarding to know that you just cause a turnover. And yeah,
more often than not, leading to a goal on the other end. Again, your talented offense. And it's something that really, I thought, surprised me was the freedom that you girls have on offense. For those that don't know, just Polina, you guys have plays and goals obviously on the attack, but outside of that patented 5-2 motion offense, there's really not too much else being told to you girls to run other than score. So you kind of talk about that on the offensive front, to where you could really do anything on that attack.
Right. So our offense is solely, we don't really have plays. That's something that coach is not big on. He likes to just run a motion, pass and cut, always moving. The ball has to move fast. The people need to move fast. And, when the ball moves fast and you're, causing slides and you're causing double teams, and you could easily dump the ball to the open girl, those are easies. He always say to play for the layup. So that's something that, we try to focus on. It's something that we try to do, is zip the ball around and, draw those girls and dump for an easy goal. But yeah, please, not too many of them here at Stony Brook.
which again, it's really incredible for me because often, under Spalina, you're a top 5, top 10 scoring program. I mean, can you just really speak about the playmakers you girls have had again? Allie Kennedy, Terrell Miller, obviously Kylie, Courtney in the past couple of years, yourself, and even those rising stars in Siobhan Rafferty, Sarah Pulis, Caitlin Hart, Claire Levy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the Kylies, the Murphs, and even like the Alleys, they paved the way for us now. People are stepping into those roles. Hart is going to be a junior now. She's been that lefty there, and she's been doing a great job. Sarah, being that midfielder, she's very dynamic. She could do a lot of things, and she's going to have a big impact. Siobhan, great off ball. She's also a key component in that offense. She gets open, and she knows how to work and get other people open as well, which is a big thing, is create offense for other people. So people are, stepping into those roles, but everybody, when they do their part, it creates something that's really awesome team offense. And it's something that's, a lot harder to defend than just here, you take the ball and you go. So that's something that we like to focus on a lot.
Yeah. So with the next season coming up and fall ball happening soon, after the time that you spent on defense throughout this past season, do you expect to go back to offense, or are you expecting to stay with defense?
I'm kind of just planning on going with the flow. I think whatever is best with the team is, something that I like to do. I'm not really, expecting too much. I'm not going to expect to be put in one place and then not in the other. I'm just going to prepare for whatever and be ready for whatever comes at me. And either or, I'm going to be content on doing what's best for the team.
And that this team is maybe looking a little different this next season because now Taryn Miller, Allie Kennedy are gone. Kaylee Huff is gone. You see some big playmakers from last season graduating completely. But as you just said, we are probably going to be seeing another look this upcoming season of players that has some good playing time, some good looks with their scoring, learning a lot from players like you. So what do you expect from these players getting more of a major impact in 2022?
Yeah, so players that maybe didn't play as much or as they like to, over the summer, they're working to get those spots and they're working to fill those gaps. So as Taryn and Allie, leave their part, like leave in the offense, which stinks. Obviously, we'd love to have them back, but now, that's inevitable. It's time for the next person to step up. So I think that people need to fill those roles. They need to step up and, they're big responsibilities, but everybody now needs to do a little bit more to play their part in the offense and then make a really good team offense.
Yeah, Joe Spalina really does trust him. And back in May, we saw it in Argo right as the postseason began, which is how Stony Brook, even though they are not a Power 5 school really, they have been able to draw some players that apparently has been known to be overlooked by high-level programs like North Carolina and Syracuse. That just says a lot of how Joe Spalina has taken a risk in being able to recruit top players like you. How do you feel like that shows just how confident and how much trust he puts into players like you that apparently do appear to have that type of capability to play for those high-level programs?
Right. So, there's a lot of us on the team that did not get looks from higher level schools at all. I know I didn't, and I know that I wanted to commit to Stony Brook while I was in coach's office on my visit. He trusts, his players, he has faith in his players, and he makes it known that he's confident in you and that you're going to play to the best of your ability, and he's going to help make you the best version of yourself. So yeah, a lot of us were underlooked, but now we're on a team that's, very blue collar, that we play for each other, which is another huge thing that makes us as good as we are. And we trust each other, coaches, teammates, player, everything. So that's something that's really important. And knowing that your coach trusts you and, has a confidence in you to be, the best version of yourself and be a great player is something that's really awesome and great to know and a really good feeling.
Yeah, and something some listeners may not be aware of is that obviously that relationship with Spalina you'd say was there even before, coming to Stony Brook, of course, playing ball at or with the Yellow Jackets of Long Island, and of course being a Mount Sinai product. Obviously, a lot of local eyes, were there watching your games and your evolution as a player. So you kind of talk about, the first time you met up with Coach Spalina and just how you two have continued to grow in that professional environment.
Right. So, Coach Spalina is from Long Island. He's a local guy. So I'm right in Mount Sinai. So he always, was able to come to games and watch me play and all that good stuff. So it's something that, right off the bat, I knew that we were compatible in that way. And I guess the vibe that he gave off was something that is very similar in my own home, which I really liked. It was his work ethic, his attitude, his outlook on things. So that's something that I enjoyed a lot as well. So yeah, I definitely had a relationship with him coming into Stony Brook. And then my freshman year, I got more comfortable with him and, building that relationship and that trust with him. He trusts me, I trust him. So it's something that's definitely important, is that player-coach relationship, or coach-player. And it's definitely building and still building. It's really good to have that relationship.
And I think it's also been somewhat of a testament for really your consistent presence in the lineup, because even as a freshman, you're still playing, 20 games a season, as you did sophomore year. Take out the Bridge 2020 season, and you're playing virtually every game, 20 plus games a season, and producing well. I mean, you can really tell that system that you were brought up on, obviously here in local ball, was really successful in the collegiate level as well.
Yeah, thank you. Freshman year, it was really awesome to be on the field when we were, number one in the country, and I was playing with some of the best NCAA record holders and, my captains at the time. It was really cool to be able to learn from them and play with them, something that's a real experience and not a lot of people say that they were or able to do. So I'm really grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah, so being put into a situation immediately like that, where your team, Stony Brook, is really somebody that is looking like they are one of those top contenders to win it all. Just how do you feel that helped you gain so much experience in Joe Spalina's squad and players like Kylie O'Miller and Courtney Murphy that influenced you to be almost that same level?
Yeah, they definitely influenced me a lot of ways. That's when I was younger and I was a freshman and I looked at them, I knew that I wanted to be exactly like them. I knew that I wanted to grow and I wanted to be one day a leader of the team, which I honestly had never even been before. And I wanted to go somewhere that we had never been before. And each and every year we're getting closer and closer. And it's really exciting. But the influence that they have definitely carries on through me. And watching them lead and watching them play, I still take, I took mental notes basically, and I was able to, take what they did. And now I'm implementing that into, my leading and my playing. So it's really cool to have had them as the example for me.
Yeah, and it's cool as well because obviously it shows your success on the field for Stony Brook, but even outside of Stony Brook, you were one of 36 players to be called on to represent the United States for the training camp earlier this summer. What was it like being a part of that training camp with some of the other best lacrosse players in the nation back in early July?
Yeah, that's an absolute honor. It's a once in a lifetime, experience and something that I never saw myself doing before. And I remember going there and I was a little bit shell-shocked, seeing some of the best players in the world and currently and in the past. So playing with those people was really amazing and getting to know them, as people instead of just watching them on TV, seeing them as players. But putting on that jersey and having the USA across my chest is something that's, amazing. It's something that I'm super proud to do. And it's a complete honor. And I'm just really happy that I got that opportunity.
And you're playing along those stars, the Kylie O'Miller and Allie Kennedy playing stars recently in the Athletes Unlimited pro lacrosse league that has just been established. Last weekend, Kylie O'Mill was the captain of a team that was perfect, 3-0, and this weekend she's playing alongside the captain that looks like one of them is Kayla Trainer. Just how proud are you to see your former teammates be able to play at a pro level like that, hoping that one day you could be a part of it?
Yeah, I'm really, really, really proud of both of them. It's amazing to see them doing so well past college because they're great people and they work so hard and they were really great players, period. So having the relationship with them and, you know, just seeing them, I'm like, I know them on TV and like, it's like really cool. And I'm super proud of them having such an impact, not on the sport, but just on people everywhere, on little girls, like being an influence for them, a positive influence. And it's just really cool. And I'm happy to, you know, call them my friends.
And it's a great point because you talk about just growing up, the presence of lacrosse in your life compared to where it is today.
Yeah, lacrosse, in my, you know, past experiences, it was really cool. I grew up in a high school that was pretty, you know, profound in lacrosse, 3 consecutive state championships. It was really cool. And it was something that really prepared me for my college career. And I think that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't, you know, play for the program that I played for and all that stuff. So I'm really happy to have been able to play with some of the best in high school, you know, like the Sydney Pareckas and the Shayna Parecka. And yeah, it's just really cool. And I wouldn't be where I am today if that didn't happen.
I was going to say another great coach as well. They're back at Mount Sinai for Albert Bertolone. Just talk about playing. We do midfield and defense there. Just his coaching style as well, you know, compared with Coach Bellino's.
Right. He's definitely a tough coach, but
Yeah.
he prepared me for what was to come and he made me, you know, a better player and he made me more coachable and he made me a better person. And, you know, when I was younger in high school, I played defense to start and I started to play midfield and I was actually recruited to Stony Brook as a defender. So it's funny how things come full circle, but
That's right.
Yeah, he was a really, really good coach. He led us to all those state championships and prepared me for Stony Brook and helped shape me into who I am today.
You're going to talk about 2 intimidating people, Coach Bertolone and Coach Bellino. Obviously, you know, if you're standing across from them on the field, you know, those are 2 people you do not want to make mad because they, you know, firsthand as well, you know, but again, it comes with the successes they bring. Obviously, the trio of titles you won at Mount Sinai and 4 straight titles you won in the America East for under Coach Bellino, rather.
Right. So they definitely have their specific ways of coaching and have different coaching styles, but I think that is very productive. I think that they get results, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way. I think that coaching style is made for me pretty much. I don't think I would do as good as I did without people pushing me the entire way. And I'm actually really appreciative that they push us to be the best. And that's the only reason why they do what they do and how they do it.
Agreed. And you see the top level of lacrosse as well. You know, nationally, Joe Spallina, assistant coach for Team USA. And, you know, because just on that topic, you know, the Olympics are going on now. And lacrosse is looking to be the next sport accepted into the Olympic committees starting in 2022. How exciting is that to really see the game grow to where likely starting next Olympics, there's going to be lacrosse on, you know, TV every day as an Olympic sport.
Right. That is so exciting to see how much the sport has grown, how far it's come. And, you know, it's just crazy to finally get to where it's going to be. For so long, it's been a sport that, you know, has been underlooked, but now it's growing more and more everywhere. You know, Long Island's usually the hot spot of lacrosse and is the hot spot of lacrosse, but now it's growing nationwide, worldwide, and it's going to be represented in the Olympics, and countries all over the world are going to be participating. It's going to be awesome. And I think that is really exciting to finally see it in the Olympics.
Yeah, and speaking of the progress of lacrosse, especially here in this country, with the 2022 season up next, we heard that a few weeks ago there were some rule changes for the next women's lacrosse season. It's going to be just like in men's lacrosse, where they're going to have 15-minute quarters, so there will be more breaks during the games, along with the shot clock being reset to 60. How do you feel about these changes and how this could probably make the competition in women's lacrosse look different?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to make the competition a lot more intense. It's going to speed up the pace of the game by a lot with that shot clock reset, with the 4 quarters. That's something that actually at US training camp, we played a scrimmage, and that was the format of the scrimmage. It was 4 5 quarters. And, it's sped up the game a lot, I feel like. And it gives you that little break in between. But at the same time, it's going to change the game a lot. It's going to change the pace. It's going to change the outcomes of games. And I think it's going to have a real big impact, but it's going to be more exciting to watch for sure.
So let me get a question in. Because you just set up a really good one here. Will these rule changes help your style of play, your team's style of play? Could this help you get deeper into the playoffs or, advance any further than previous teams have?
I think so for sure. I think at Stony Brook, one of our things is playing super fast and playing really aggressive. And I think speeding up the game, honestly, would be used to our advantage. We put a lot of emphasis on, our conditioning and our strength and our speed and all of that good stuff. So having a change that honestly works in our favor, is going to be cool. And I think that we're going to do really good in that aspect.
In previous years...
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Go ahead, Zach.
Okay, yeah. So what I was going to say is that Stony Brook over the last few years have had some really interesting methods for how they practice. And when you first came into Stony Brook in 2018, the first one was that their first practice of the season began at midnight. What was it like for you when apparently that happened?
It was really cool to be the first team, out on the field, in the nation practicing at 12 o'clock as soon as that day hit that we were able to practice. I remember running out of the tunnel and just seeing, all of our parents and even some fans out there that came to watch practice. And I thought it was really cool to be a part of the experience, with people and, to get a midnight practice in, that's really unheard of. So I think it was a really cool experience to have.
Right, so Matt, you were going to say something next?
Got to make sure my mic is up and unmuted here. Okay, here we go. Okay. Going back to the rule changes and how they suit the game, your game now. Previous years, you get to the NCAA tournament and you run into a BC, you run into a Maryland. What are the adjustments that your team has been trying to make to set yourself up, put yourself in a better position to take on schools like that and just break through, finally, to the Final Four, national championship, because obviously that's been the goal from the beginning. And Stony Brook has reached a certain point, and it's a huge hurdle to get over. But what are you guys trying to do now to break through that?
I think that we get closer and closer each year. I think that we, during those games, we come out with an unmatched energy. Like this past one in North Carolina, we came out fast. We came out strong. We held them, and obviously the outcome didn't come our way. But, we try to – there's really no specific change to our game. We try sometimes to, on offense, maybe – focus a little bit more on one player, focus more on the quarterback and keep an eye on this player. But other than that, we just do us basically. So there's nothing that's really changed. We just stick to our roots and we do what we do best and play super hard.
Do you think the growth and experience that you've had, you just being in those situations over and over again, will eventually help you get past them? You get North Carolina or BC or Maryland or any of the other big opponents.
Definitely, because now playing in those games, we know what that pressure feels like. We know what to expect. We know the pace of the game. Being in those situations prepares us for future situations. And I think that's important to have that experience. And I think that getting closer and closer and playing in those games really helps us inch towards our goal.
Considering that you're now staying an extra year, but Allie and Terrence stay an extra year, everybody was pushing toward the unfinished business, as was expressed earlier. What do you think the feeling will be for all, not just for your current team, but for everybody who came before you, if the team finally does finish the business?
I think that they're going to be really proud. You know, those people are the people that paved the path for us. So I think that they're going to be super proud. I think they're going to be very happy that they helped really get us to where we were today, because, you know, Stony Brook when Stony Brook was D1 to start, we were at the bottom of the barrel, like not ranked, not even close to where we are today. So they really helped build us up, and they helped get us to where, you know, we are right now, and they would help us get to where we hope to be in the future. So I think that they would be really happy for us, maybe a little jealous, but, you know, definitely more so proud of us and super happy that we got there.
Yeah.
What kind of a party is homecoming going to be like with some of the alumni? Actually, that's a feminine form of alumna, and plural alumni. And how many of them you're going to be running into at homecoming, and what kind of a celebration is that going to be?
I run into quite a few of them. You know, they usually on homecoming we play a couple fall ball games, and they come to watch, and then they come for the football game and all that stuff. So it's fun, definitely seeing everybody outside of lacrosse and alumni that, you know, you haven't seen in a while. So it's definitely fun. It's exciting and all that good stuff for sure.
So also with next season coming up soon, we talked about the talent that Stony Brook has for 2022, but there's going to be a lot of competition as well in the nation that you may have to face. It could be Boston College that's bringing back one of the best players. That could be one of the best and probably a front runner for the Tewaaraton Award next year in Charlotte North. You also get Emily Harrischuk, who missed this season due to an injury before Syracuse defeated you guys. And you also get Izzy Skane, who looks very phenomenal for Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken. And North Carolina is probably going to get some more talent as well, like Caitlin Wurzberger, to keep some things in perspective. How much do you welcome this competition for 2022, especially if you had the chance to play against these elite players?
Yeah, you know, we welcome it, and then we run straight towards it. It's not something that we like to defer from. It's a challenge that we always like to take on, and, you know, we don't shy away from. You know, playing against those players, you know, people can be intimidated, but at the same time, you know, you play intimidated, then usually you don't get the outcome that you're wanting for. So it's something that you almost have to disregard. You don't care who you're going up against. You kind of just have to play your best and determine the outcome that way, but you almost can't shy away from that.
So going back to this past season with the NCAA tournament, you were selected as the 8th seed. Your first opponent was the Towson Tigers, who you played a very close match up against back in March.
Yep.
And you also played Rutgers in round 2. Because of your seeding, many people believe that you were the national seed that would probably have the toughest time to get past that first weekend. But despite being called that, you managed to bust through well, taking advantage of Towson without one of their top players, and being able to take down a Rutgers team that saw round 2 for the first time in school history by putting up the team's first 20-burger since 2017, which was, of course, the year before you came. So how did you see your team doing well successfully, both offensive and defensive, against Rutgers and Towson?
Yeah, those were 2 really exciting games. But Coach would tell us all the time, and it's something that is very true, is that we were the team that was going to be completely different at the end of the season than we were in the beginning. So we had all that time to grow, all that time to work hard and get better. So when we came back for that game, and then, we crushed Towson. In the beginning of the year, we only won by 2. And Rutgers was a really exciting game, a lot of, fun energy. And we just had a lot of fun on the field that day. So it was just really cool to crush those 2 games and be able to get down to North Carolina after that.
Oh, yeah. So what was I?
I feel bad for those American East teams next season, just because with the abridged shot clock and just the motivation that this Stony Brook team has coming for the upcoming season. I mean, y'all girls averaged about 19 goals a game against your conference competition already. I mean, how many 20-goal games do you anticipate Stony Brook having against the American East competition?
A lot, if not all of them.
All those UMass Lowell games. Oh,
Sure.
boy.
Well, I mean, the only way those 20-goal games will happen is if your team is up by so much, and usually you will hit the 20-goal mark when the backup players are in. That just shows you just how dominant this team has always been. Stony Brook has not lost an America East game at all since 2014. It goes back way far like that. It's just shows you that Stony Brook may even deserve to be part of a conference that's even bigger than the America East. What do you do you agree with that?
It's a really good question. I actually think that everyone loves more competition, but kind of hard to say. We like our conference, but to get out there and be able to play some different teams and really build that those points, the RPI points that help us in the NCAA brackets and stuff like that would really help. So competition would be nice, but we just like to keep winning those conference games and keep getting better.
Okay, so you got about 3 weeks before the fall semester begins, and you have any plans in the short term to enjoy the summer a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. After working for union camp and stuff like that, I had time off, and now I'm back in full training mode, getting ready for lacrosse. And honestly, I like it that way. It keeps me busy. It keeps me in shape. It keeps me, fit. So it's something that I enjoy. And I'm excited to get back to it.
I think that's one thing that fans don't realize, that at this level, it's a year-round endeavor, that you're in constant training, even in the off-season.
Right, definitely. We come back, we were in fall ball, and then even when fall ball tournaments are over, we still have workouts. We still have captain's practices. And then, that 1 month over the winter, you're trying to get in the best shape you possibly could for the real season. Then that whole spring and the summer, you're just doing it all over again, trying to get prepared for the next. And, so yeah, it is a year-round endeavor, and it never stops.
Yes.
Well, Raina Sabella, we thank you so much for your time.
Wait, hang on a second.
Zach, you want to get one last one in? Go ahead.
I just want to get one last question in. So, Raina, one last question. Each year, Stony Brook has been able to bring in some players that look good in their freshman season. This past season, we've seen Ellie Macera and Jane Hampel perform well. The season before that, Kaylin Hart, I tell you, her debut at Syracuse could not have gone any finer, especially making SportsCenter top 10. Are there any incoming freshmen that you believe could also make a possible impact for next season?
No, I think all the freshmen coming in have the chance to, make their impact. I'm excited for all of them to come in. I haven't met a lot of them yet, and I'm really excited to. But I think that there are opportunities all over the field that they can, come in and compete for. And I think that they definitely do have a really great shot of coming in and having that impact, because they all are really good players and a very talented group. So I'm excited to see, what they're going to be like when I get back to campus in the fall.
Well, your coach always brings immediate impact players each year, and it always seems to stand out like that. And we just can't wait for 2022 to come any sooner.
I agree.
Okay,
All right,
Raina
guys.
Sabella, thank you so much for your time. And we hope to be seeing a lot of you current players and the alumni during homecoming. And we'll hope to have you also on closer to the season, and we'll see how things are going at the time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
No problem. You
Raina
take care.
Sabella from the women's lacrosse team, now also one of the veteran players on the team, taking her fifth year with the Seawolves next season. And again, best of luck to the women's lacrosse team, who will be joining them in the spring, live on WUSB. Okay, guys, it's 10:57 here on WUSB, Stony Brook. I'll get the ID in about 3 minutes early. Ken Furman, Mike Anderson, Zach Wilson, Matt Mankiewicz here until midnight, and this is a good segue. Maybe it's time we segued into a little bit of Olympic coverage. And I want to get that in before we talk trade deadline, before we talk free agency in the NBA, because one of the most controversial stories coming out of Tokyo is the decision by Simone Biles to withdraw from first the individual all-around and then specific events in gymnastics for what she says mental health issues rather than physical. Now, the mental health issues affected her physical play, her competition, and her ability to perform a lot of the very difficult maneuvers in gymnastics, a lot of which she invented. But you got one hand saying, hooray for her, and you got the other one saying, she's a coward. Now, I don't think any of us agree with the latter. But this is something that has been a part of the sports mentality forever. Everybody says how tough football players are, how tough hockey players are, and if you don't play hurt, you're soft, whatever. Now, in gymnastics, there's a great story, and if I can get from Facebook, about a Russian Olympic gymnast who was a 1978 world champion, and she hurt herself, broke her leg actually, and it didn't heal sufficiently, but of course she's part of the Soviet system, and they wanted her to be ready for the Moscow Olympics in 1980, and they wanted her to clean up because that was their Olympics. Of course, they really did clean up because the U.S. boycotted. That's another story. But she ended up muffing one of her I think the event was the vault, and she landed the wrong way on her head. That rendered her a quadriplegic. If you get something like a vault wrong in gymnastics, you could really mess yourself up. And Simone Biles was in a situation where she was afraid she might do that. So she pulled back.
Yeah,
What
I
do
think
you
a
think,
lot of
guys?
the critics really don't understand not only the pressure that comes with gymnastics, being the center stage of the Olympics, especially the early coverage of it. Here in the United States, all the commercial promo packages were on women's gymnastics and Simone Biles especially. But another thing too is just the fact that in gymnastics, everything you're doing, while it may be a team sport, yes, you're essentially alone. It's you and the bar that you're working with. This isn't comparable to something like baseball, where maybe you're on the outfield and you feel hurt, but you can take a play off because odds are the ball's not hitting your way. Everything is reliant on you, and especially in the gymnastics field, for you to make those motions, for you to perform those maneuvers and perform them well. As we saw when Simone did perform to start off, obviously she wasn't herself flawlessly hitting move after move, but rather she came close 2 or 3 times from over rotating and smacking her head against the ground and quite possibly really hurting herself physically. So while in one sense, yeah, it's disappointing not to see Simone Biles, performing on the biggest stage of the world. You can't really blame her when, as you said, there's situations in the past where people try to push through the twisties. That's what it's called in gymnastics terms. And, really push through that mental barrier and ultimately getting pushed back, causing harm to themselves, and ultimately rendering their career moot because they're unable to perform anymore after suffering injury.
Well, let me.
Very famous. Go ahead, Zach.
Wait.
Oh,
so
Mike.
I'm just gonna. No, that's okay. I'm just
Go ahead,
gonna
Mike.
take. I'm gonna take a slight contrarian. I think that you made great points. I don't disagree with anything that you said in particular. Okay, I don't blame Simone Biles. Right, I've been there. I think a lot of us have been there. A lot of professionals have been there where, the mental side maybe affects your physical game, right? I mean, look at like Michael Conforto right now. It's so mental for him.
It's hurting bad.
It's so mental for him, and look at what he's done, and I like personally, I was in 9th grade. I tore, they call it the posterior labral ligament. It's in your left shoulder. And that delayed my start to the season, and I didn't have a spring training really or anything like that. So I started the season without any practice, and I was injured. And it's not that I wasn't physically in shape or anything like that. It's just that it was so mental. I was afraid to swing hard. I was afraid to throw the ball because I was afraid of hurting myself even more. And it really affected my play. I started 2017 like 0 for 13 or something like that, So I don't blame Simone for making that decision. However, this is my take on it. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball, track and field, Olympics, and anything. If you decline the opportunity to compete, you cannot be considered one of the greats, right? How do you lose a debate? By not showing up. Okay, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Simone Biles is a great athlete. Obviously, she's already, her legacy, her reputation precedes her. Okay, I don't think that this is going to damage her legacy. I mean, it might to some people, but yes, she is a role model. But this, you can't. The best athletes, the greatest athletes of all time in all their respective trades, Michael Jordan and LeBron James in basketball and whoever you want to say in baseball and football, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, they persevered through the mental struggles. And at the same time, we do have to realize that these are not gladiators. These are real people too. And it's okay to not be okay. And we should totally always be aware of an athlete's mental health, which is why I hate booing. Really, I think that it's stupid hearing the obscenities that are yelled at certain athletes. But if you're going to decline the opportunity to be one of the greats, then you're automatically not one of the greats. Automatically.
Except for the one thing. She already is one of the greats.
She is, but she's yes, she is one of the greats, okay? But she's declining the opportunity to be greater. She's representing this country and
to avoid breaking her neck.
Yes, Matt, I get it. Okay, but there is I don't want to call her selfish, but for lack of a better term, there is like a selfishness to that, right? It's she's not going to represent the country for the benefit of herself, which, you should always put yourself first. But again,
the Olympics, considering how exploitive the Olympics are to begin with, the IOC, okay, representing your country is the least of your worries. Let's be honest.
Well, you're never going to hear Tom Brady say, you know what? Pressure's mounting. They all think we're going to go back-to-back. We brought back all 22 starters this year. Really, everybody expects the Bucks to go back-to-back. It's putting too much pressure on me. I'm going to sit this year out, take a back seat. You're never going to hear him say that.
No, you're not going to hear him say that. No.
You're never going to hear
say? You know what you're going to hear? If he goes into training camp and he's not himself for any reason, whether he can't throw as effectively, whether he can't move as effectively, whether he can't think as effectively, whatever it is, he will say, I'm done.
I mean, you could argue
I don't
that
believe
was
so.
You
I
could
don't
argue
think
that's
so.
what Drew Brees just did. You know, he came off pretty good regular season, didn't have a great, postseason.
No, Drew Brees had an injury-plagued 2019 and 2020, and he had been severely deteriorating. The numbers hide how good Drew Brees was. We'll talk. This is more of just a football thing, but
Derek Jeter. Okay, let's talk about Derek Jeter. Breaks his leg in the 2012 ALCS. Sits out, spends the entire 2013 season rehabbing. Okay? Off season 2013 to 14, he says, 2014 is my last year, folks. And he could have cut it off right then and said, I cannot get myself back into condition to play at the level that I expect to be able to play. But this is why athletes retire. I mean, this could be for Simone Biles. This could be her swan song.
Right,
saying
but
that's
Jeter
it.
played through it. Jeter played through it.
Jeter played.
Yes, he did.
Jeter planned on playing through. He was not at the same level in 2014 than he was in 2012.
No, of course he's
Nowhere
not. But
near
Simone Biles is not deteriorated. Yes, she had a down performance by Simone Biles' standards.
People retire for all different reasons.
Well,
Some because they can't do it. Some because they don't want to do it anymore. And some because they don't feel like doing it.
In a sense, she has deteriorated, but it's on the mental side because of all the pressure mounted to it. Again, you're right. While it's not literally a physical injury, this is a mental fatigue, and in this case, injury that is affecting the physical, as opposed to something on the other side, where again you tear an ACL, that's a physical injury, and you put a mental barrier. There are mental barriers there that are prohibiting her from achieving the success and maneuvers she's been able to do flawlessly for years. Right. And I think that's the uniqueness of this all, where, again, as I said, this is mental affecting the physical performance. And, in a situation like that to me is scarier, because if you, again, as I said earlier, if you try to push yourself through that, there were rotations there where she could have easily gone head first on the mat and really done a number on herself. And just looking at her performance, especially after that second one, I really had no qualms of her pulling out, because she would have, I believe, ultimately done physical harm because of that mental barrier and ultimately ruined her career forever, as opposed to there being that potential that she comes back in the Olympics later this week on the beam.
Well, let's cite Kerri Strug. Remember her? 1996 Olympics? Trying to, stick a landing on one leg, and her coach Bella Caroli pushing, you can do it, and playing through an injury, playing hurt. Everybody praised her for playing hurt, and you look back, first of all, she was done after that, because she played on the bad leg. That leg never healed correctly, and she was done at 18. Couldn't come back for another Olympics. So, what do you do in that case? When you're looking back, you take a look at what Simone Biles just did, saying, you know what? I'm not 100. Look, physically 100%, mentally 100%. There are good reasons to. Or here's another one. Take a look at now Lou Gehrig. His skills were deteriorating significantly because of ALS.
Right.
But
that's
early in 1939, and he's hitting 143, basically 1 for 7. And he goes to Joe McCarthy. He said, he takes himself out of the lineup because with the streak and everything like that, he earned that right to take himself out of the lineup. But he saw he wasn't doing the team any good, so that's it. And he pulled himself out of the lineup. Play through that, he already knew his disease was terminal. So he said, I can't do it anymore. Now, some guys persist. Some guys hang on. But other guys, they want to quit when they're on top. Look at David Ortiz. Okay?
Yeah.
Open up David Ortiz's stats in Baseball Reference and look at that last season of his.
Yeah, he had the greatest last season ever, offensively.
Look at that. I mean, he could have easily come back. He just didn't want to. But he led the league, led both leagues in slugging percentage at age 40.
And I think he hit, what did he, lead the league in doubles or something like that?
And RBIs.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
He led the major leagues in doubles with 48. 127 RBIs, led the American League. Led
over 600, that I know.
On-base percentage. Okay. Oh, no, led slugging. 401 on base, which is still respectable. Damn good. 620 really slugging, which I'm looking at, was his best ever.
Yeah.
His personal best. His OPS was 1.021.
Yes, these are all facts, okay? But we're also talking about guys who we're talking about athletes who were old for an athlete. We're talking about, the wrong side of 30.
Simone Biles is old for a gymnast.
But she has
24 is
body.
Ancient for a gymnast.
I know, but she has an athlete's body. She can persevere if she wants to. She doesn't want to.
Most don't. There's a reason why. Forget about the sexual abuse scandals, stuff like that. Gymnastics is one of the most physically taxing sports there is.
Of course, but the greatest athletes, regardless your sport, do not take a back seat. They just don't do it. They just don't do it.
Yes, they do. When it's time to quit. This could be it for her.
That's different. Quitting is not... Is Simone Biles retiring? Did she announce?
She hasn't yet, but I'll bet you right after the Olympics she will.
Probably. And
guaranteed.
I think you can't,
because win or lose, she was going to do that.
And you can't really overlook the sexual scandal in this case because obviously it played a big purpose in just the roster for this Olympic team. Yeah. Considering Simone was the only one returning from the Larry Nassar scandal.
Right.
With everyone else pulling out and citing that is a big reason. We're not going to speculate, but it's fair to assume that, that could be playing a mental toll as well. This being the first one since everything went down.
No doubt about it.
And again, as you said, she's, for 24, not a lot of folks make it, 24 still doing gymnastics on men's or women's. And truth be told, even despite her performances, she was still one of the best in the world, still putting up good numbers and enough for her team to get silver in the competitions. The two competitions she was able to play. So, to me, again, this situation, I think you're going to see this pop up a lot more, especially in pro sports, women's sports, definitely. Men's, I think in a few years, it's also really going to be prevalent. This be a win in mental health in the case of you're going to see a lot more people citing this reason as for why they're unable to continue or they're going to pull themselves out. It's something.
What about Kevin Durant?
You two have said,
What do you mean? What about Kevin Durant?
Kyrie Irving.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Okay, not Durant. The wrong Brooklyn net.
Yeah, I was going to say Kevin Durant blew out his Achilles. I don't think he was choosing. Yeah. But Kyrie Irving, I mean, I was ranting about this when I first joined you guys. Kyrie Irving just takes off whenever he wants to. And, he cites, you have to research this, okay? You have to do the. I'm not saying that you are uninformed, but the collective you have to research this to understand. But Kyrie Irving wasn't taking off just because of mental health. He was taking off to spread his cause. He wants to give back to the community. He bought the Floyd family a home. He was taking off for reasons like that. He took off after was it the Jacob Blake shooting? There was a shooting of an unarmed black man during the season. It wasn't Jacob Blake. That was last summer. That was around this time last summer. But there was a shooting of an unarmed black man during the season, and he took off like immediately right after that. He did not play for the next week.
Admirable. But
yeah, he
to take your point,
he's using
to take your side of the argument.
Right. He is trying to be a social justice warrior, and I get it. But at the end of the day, he's signed to a massive contract. He's obligated to the Brooklyn Nets.
He has a job to do.
He can't be right. He has a job to do, and a very luxurious job. $32 million a year to play half the games. That's almost unfair. Where can I find me a job like that?
But you can't. You can't equate that to what Simone Biles' situation, because she is the reason. Look, let's say in the NFL. Well, no, the perfect example. Chuck Knobloch. Remember him?
No.
Remember what happened to him? Chuck Knobloch was a second baseman on the Yankees during their glory years in the 90s. Got a couple of rings. And all of a sudden, couldn't throw to first base.
He got the yips?
He got the yips. And there's a perfect example of someone who should have been pulled out of the lineup and pulled back to get his head right.
Right. Yeah, it's all mental. We digressed a little bit. First of all, understand this too. Simone Biles has. I'm not saying it's not a legitimate reason. I'm just saying that a great athlete would persevere through it. Not that she's not a great athlete, but she
depends on what she's persevering through.
Right.
Now, what Terry Strug did was more of a traditional persevering through. But the problem is it ruined her career.
Yes. But fear of injury, I mean, you can get injured crossing the street, but either way, Simone Biles at least has a point. Kyrie Irving really didn't have much of a legitimate point. I mean, imagine if I don't know, let's just say
I think kind of
a jaywalker. Hold on.
Happening in the NBA. Remember in the bubble following, I believe, of the shooting, to where a lot of NBA players were gonna pull out of the bubble, and to make a point of the shooting in Milwaukee, and it took ultimately President Obama going on a mass call saying, maybe don't pull out of the bubble, but use it to raise your cause.
Right.
And I think going forward, you're going to be seeing this a lot across all different types of sports in conjunction, with mental health. And again, the social justice movement we've really seen happen over the past few years. I mean, going forward, I think that's going to be the norm. And it was something we're going to have a better understanding of now, or rather in the future, as opposed to now, where everything's kind of just starting.
I guess so. Yeah, no, that's true. We are going to see a lot more of that. But what I was trying to say was Kyrie Irving's reasons are not legitimate reasons. I think he did miss one game because of like the birth of his child, right? I think his wife might have been pregnant, but Kyrie
that generally
Irving
gets you excused.
That happens all the time in sports. So nobody's going to fault. I mean, Daniel Murphy skipped the Mets opening series in 2014 because of the birth of his child, and Mike Francesa ripped him probably because he hates the Mets. But
well, that was ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, the only instance where you might not do that is in the playoffs,
right?
But in the regular season, especially beginning of the regular season, fine.
Yeah, but March 31st through April third is forgivable. So anyway,
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, the reasons Kyrie Irving would use were not like logical. And what I was just going to make it an equivalent. Like imagine a jaywalker gets hit in the town of Port Jefferson. Okay, I live in Port Jeff. That's why I'm bringing up Port Jefferson. A jaywalker gets hit in Port Jeff. Okay, so I decide to skip work because I'm trying to make a stance for pedestrians' awareness rights. I don't know. Like, that makes no sense. You know, I work at a CVS. Why would that mean anything? So Kyrie Irving is a point guard for the Brooklyn Nets. Like, okay, I get it. You want to be a social justice warrior, but you're the second best player on the team. You have to be there. You have to be there unless you're hurt, unless you're sick, unless you have a family matter. He did cite family matters as one, but it's even the Brooklyn Nets, Steve Nash himself was a little dubious of the fact that was a family matter because he himself wasn't telling them what the family matter was. So anyway, yeah, Simone Biles has a perfectly good reason to opt out. I'm ambivalent about it, or indifferent about it, rather. It's a better version than it's better reasons than Kyrie Irving. Now, Matt, you were the one who brought up Kyrie, so was there a point that you wanted to make?
Well, I was also trying to. Well, he got cut a lot of slack for all kinds of reasons, but the whole point was
he's Kyrie,
that
and because he's a box office, and we forget.
And he's yes. And what is Simone Biles? An established superstar herself.
Right, she's a household name. I mean,
but
here's
the thing: the NFL is notorious for sending people out before they're ready in terms of recovering from injuries. Oh, yeah. Now, of course, NFL means not for long. So you want to make your money, you want to make your game checks and stuff like that. The contracts aren't guaranteed, all that wonderful stuff. So there's pressure on the athlete to get back quickly too, especially if the guy behind you is playing well. So you don't want to lose your job. But that results in the average lifespan of an NFL player being 53. The injuries, they take their toll, they shorten careers, they eventually kill people. Mm-hmm. So then there's the other thing. Simone Biles is getting a lot of people on her side because of what she's already achieved.
Yeah.
If anybody else on the team did what she did, people would be raining holy hell on that person.
Oh, for sure.
Because
Absolutely.
Simone Biles already did it. She's not going to be accused, as you say, of not being willing or able to get it done. Because she's already done it. And Tom Brady, same thing. If Tom Brady goes into training camp this year and something's not right, he may say, I'm out of here. I'm done. Finally. Because he's earned the right to do that. He's got all his rings. He can say, if I'm not performing at the level that I need, I figure I want to be performing. What'd he say? I'll retire when I suck.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, sucking can be physical. Sucking can be mental. Throwing interceptions all over the place. Whatever it is.
Could just be a down
If he's
year,
not Tom Brady, he doesn't want to play anymore. He's done.
Yeah.
Simone Biles is not Simone Biles. Right. She doesn't want to put it out there. So, but she's earned that right because of her resume.
That's true. Yeah, she's earned her stripes. Yeah, and Tom Brady, of course, you're being strictly hypothetical because Tom Brady has such an ego. He still has a brand to live up to too. With TB12 and stuff.
I don't. No, at this point, no. He has nothing left to prove. Simone Biles has nothing left to prove. They're just doing it for themselves. And if it's not there for them, they will call it a day. And it would not surprise me. I wonder if Vegas has odds on it. I should bet. Is that Simone Biles, within 30 days of the end of the Olympics, the closing ceremonies, Simone Biles will announce her retirement.
If I had a crystal ball, I would tell you to place a bet.
I don't think I'd get good odds.
I don't know. I mean, I have faith that Simone Biles will actually come back, but I don't know. It's
at age 24, like I said,
she has one event left to potentially do. And it's the beams, which are not necessarily as difficult as some of the other gymnastic routines, but again, it's definitely going to be the most talked about thing next week, regardless.
Yeah, I think this would also. I also think that she's going to come back simply because I think this would, no matter how you slice it, this would be a very disappointing end to a very,
the greatest career.
Yeah,
and then
all the records being having a move named after you. That's something only
several. Right. I mean, she's on the cover of
her
cereal boxes. I think I've drank out of Gatorade bottles with her.
I would say she's the face of gymnastics worldwide.
Right.
And, maybe with the exception of Russia, because they have their own they're promoting. But
get a load of this. How about Mariano Rivera? Mariano Rivera injures himself shagging flies, and says, when he had already announced that year was going to be his last year, and then he said, "Nope. I can't go out like this. I'm coming back for one more."
Yeah, and he had a good year. He didn't have a great year.
And I remember asking him directly, said, You're doing so well, why stop now? And his answer was, you don't realize what it takes for me at my age to maintain this level.
Oh, yeah. No, I believe it. It's 110% true. Yeah, and people will forget how good Mo was that year. Wasn't he 42 years old? Number 42, wearing 42.
I believe so, but we can call it up. It's great having computers in front of you because you can always call up stats.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you something. I go back to the days when you didn't have these conveniences, and it was no mean trick. You'd have to memorize stuff and remember it off the top of your head.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I'll keep those.
Okay, looking at the save numbers, 44 saves, which is the same number he had in 2011.
It doesn't show on Baseball Reference how many blown saves. You have to whatever. Anyway,
let's. He didn't blow very many.
But even with that as well, before you change topics, I think even with the loss of Simone Biles, gymnastics of the United States showed they'll be just fine with Sunny Lee replacing her and getting the gold in both artistic gymnastics and women's all-around. I mean, she had a gigantic chip on her shoulder, filling in for Simone Biles, and flawlessly. I mean, her performances were incredible. And to me, her or Katie Ledecky's record-breaking performances in swimming, I think it was the 1500 freestyle. Mm-hmm. I mean, those I think have been the two highlights of the opening week of the Olympics for the Team United States. I mean, impressive doesn't even begin to describe it. Just incredible, showcasing from those two.
What didn't Caleb Dressel win?
He has another one on the men's side, and throw him in there as well. I think on the men's because that was a close race as well. But he was able he was in fourth for those that didn't see it. There was maybe 25% of the race left, and he was in fourth place, about 4 or 5 strokes away from the first place swimmer. And just the strides, the intensity he ran through the water, and just every stroke he gained a meter closer and closer. And ultimately, right as they're about to touch the wall, he gets that one final stroke in and is able to be about an arm's length ahead of the rest of the competition. And to do that is someone who was overlooked, especially when you have some great representatives from other countries as well, in that race. I mean, he had performance of a lifetime. Come just under, I think, Michael Phelps' performances. But man, just absolutely incredible showing from those three. I mean, they've been the highlight for sure of the week.
Yeah, I didn't know that a human being could have a second gear while swimming. You know,
Agreed.
like I've heard of it while running, but swimming, that's I've never seen a meteoric rise like that.
Yeah.
So that was
and again, this is the 100 meters, so you're essentially only going for a lap where you got 45 to 50 seconds of winning. It's not even like it's the 800 or the 1500 where maybe you get a minute to catch up. Okay, if you're not on your A game, you're toast. And for Caleb Dressel to come back, as I said, from the middle of the field and in about 5 or 6 strides, take the gold medal, incredible performance. I mean, that's inspiring, I think, just to show that intensity and that never give up attitude. Wow.
Yeah, turned on the Jets.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of turning on, we going to talk about the Yankees first or the Mets? Because the Yankees definitely turned it up this week while the New York Metropolitans.
Well, first of all, I have to explain, guys, you're definitely excused if you don't know this story, but Joey Gallo is one of the newest Yankees, but he's also the namesake of a mobster who was whacked in Umberto's Clam Bar, which is a big sponsor at WFAN. Remember Joe Bonillo said, Umberto's? Yeah. Well, Joe knew about Joey Gallo, too. But way back in 1972, Joey Gallo was shot in Umberto's Clam Bar. And the running joke of the Yankees' new acquisition was that he must do a commercial for Umberto's because it's just part of New York mob lore. Yes, I celebrate my birthday at Umberto's and live to tell the tale.
Yeah,
or boy, he goes in and says, "Please don't shoot me."
I don't have an interest. Oh, yes, I do. You know what? The head coach of St. John's basketball team is named Mike Anderson. Obviously, yes. Zach has the most prevalent name twin. I mean, second overall pick by the New York Jets.
Who did sign a contract this week.
Right, yeah, your weekly non sequitur. Now, okay, so we're going to talk about the Yankees first, right? And I think they earned that this week.
Yes. And the other Italian-American who they add to the team, fellow named Rizzo, nobody beats the Riz. Now, in the old Yankee Stadium, again, you probably do remember because you were kids at the time, you remember the electronics chain Nobody Beats the Wiz? There was a big ad for that in right field in the old Yankee Stadium. So Nobody Beats the Riz. That definitely brings back memories for a lot of Yankee fans. The company was also owned by Cablevision, by the way. So, yeah. So they were all over Madison Square Garden, too, and any other sporting event in New York. You always saw those ads. Crickets.
Nice. I don't even know how to respond to that, Matt. Yeah, but
that was John Sterling's home run call for him.
Oh, was it? Oh, honestly, I can't stand John Sterling's cheesy home run calls, so I try to avoid it at all costs.
He gets away with it because he's been doing it for so long. Yeah. What's he going to come up with next? I even got sucked into it, too. Yeah. I once called Max Tissenbaum's home run, Max takes it to the max. And,
Yeah, I had a coach say an A-bomb from Mike A, even though I was the only Mike on the team. But, he was just trying too hard. But, yeah, so Anthony Rizzo, right? Let's talk about baseball now, not. So the Yankees obviously made a couple of deals at the deadline. First off, they unloaded. They traded Justin Wilson and Luis Sessa. Was it Justin Wilson? I know they traded Luis Sessa to the Reds.
Yes.
It was Justin Wilson and Luis Sessa.
And Sessa got beat by the Mets last night.
But. Yeah, and by the way, the Mets traded Luis Sessa to the Tigers for Yoenis Cespedes, and then they went on to go win the pennant. So it really came full circle for Luis Sessa on Saturday night. But I digress again. Right. So the Yankees made that move, and then, of course, they traded for Joey Gallo, a corner outfielder from the Texas Rangers, won a Gold Glove last year in right field. Perhaps the strongest man in baseball. He probably leads the league in average home run distance. I'm sure you could find that somewhere on the internet. He hits these sweet swinging, smooth, majestic bombs, and when he doesn't do that, he walks or he strikes out, which he does more often than he does hit those bombs. I mean, he's had
which results in a 211 batting average.
Right, and like a 500 slugging percentage. It's ridiculously hard to slug 500 when you're hitting under 250.
So when you're 3-2
unless your name is Dave Kingman.
Right, but even he hit like 230 and slugged like 470. Like Joey Gallo does, probably because Dave Kingman didn't walk nearly as much as Joey Gallo. But and also Dave Kingman had no position. He was terrible at all of them. Joey Gallo is a good outfielder. And I don't think that like Joey Gallo is going to make the Yankees lineup significantly better. I think at Yankee Stadium he could pass Maris. He could, for a full season, he could hit over 61 home runs, but he's not going to hit for higher average. He's probably not going to drive in key runs because he's not a contact hitter. He's not going to shorten up in big moments, but he is going to give them, he's going to reach base once per game, either via walk or home run. So they're going to get a base runner, a guaranteed 1 to 2 base runners per game with him. They're going to get the occasional, not occasional, it's more than occasional, but they're going to get the long, majestic bomb from him. And he shores up their outfield defense. That's the biggest thing about Joey Gallo, because you have Aaron Judge in right field, and he's a stud. He's a very good outfielder. And then you got, he's hurt right now, but Clint Frazier this year, who played a lot, he's the worst outfielder in baseball defensively. Like, I'm not making that up. He has the lowest defensive run saved. He's had multiple horrible seasons. He can't throw the baseball. When he does, he throws it to the wrong base. Andujar is obviously not an outfielder. He's hurt too, I believe. Or is he back now? Is Andujar off the injured list? Either way, it doesn't matter. You got them playing the outfield. They're horrible. Aaron Hicks is hurt. So now you get Joey Gallo in there to play left field. You got 2 cannon arms in the corners and 2 guys that cover good ground. And then
that could help you.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, where their outfield defense is horrible, so is their infield defense, right? I've been ragging on Glaber all year. I haven't been able to do it the past 3 weeks because I haven't been here. But Glaber's still a horrible shortstop. Nothing's changed, and then, of course, third base play isn't good. Gary Sanchez is not a good catcher. And first base, Luke Voigt's hurt again, but Luke Voigt's not a good first baseman. But then they go out and they get Anthony Rizzo, who's a stellar first baseman and is a lefty power bat and hits about anywhere between 250 to 270, walks a lot, and he drives in runs. He shortens up. He shortens up a lot. He gets a lot of big key hits, a lot of runners in scoring position, base hits, a lot of runner on third, less than 2 out, driving the run. He does it. He gets the job done. I wish I was here the past 3 weeks because I predicted to one of my friends that the Yankees would trade for Rizzo, and they did, and I felt like a genius. I couldn't predict that he would hit 2 mammoth home runs his first 2 games, but he gives them, they now have 2 more lefty power bats who get on base, drive in runs, and hit home runs, and play defense. And all of a sudden, this team is a legitimate team. Now, it should be pointed out, they swept the Marlins, and it's hard to sweep anybody, okay? 3-game sweep is a big deal, and when you're on the outside looking in, every win is important. Doesn't matter if it's interleague, doesn't matter if it was against a 5th place team. Doesn't matter. Everyone is important. They got 3 in a row. And also they should be proud. The Marlins are a competitive team. The Marlins are not a good team, and they just unloaded. They traded Starling Marte. They traded Adam Duvall. They traded earlier in the year, they traded Corey Dickerson. But they've got very good starting pitching. Very good starting pitching. They're always in every game. They're scrappy. They still got a couple of guys who can play. Jesus Aguilar, Brian Anderson. They've got some guys, Miguel Rojas. They can play. They helped the Yankees to only 10 runs in 3 games, but the Yankees were able to win, which is a testament to their pitching. Of course, the Marlins can't hit, so Who knows if it was that the Yankees pitched well or the Marlins were just the Marlins. But still, they look much better. They're very close. They're within striking distance of the Oakland Athletics. They can easily now take that second wild card spot. Their schedule gets way easier in August. They do have a couple meetings left. I think 6 games left with the Red Sox, and they're 3-10 against Boston. So that could kill them. That's going to make or break them. They still have to play Tampa and Toronto a couple more times too. But right now, I kind of like the Yankees' chances, man. They're a better defensive team. You got DJ now. He can play second base finally, or third base, wherever you want to play him. You got Gio at third. He's obviously one of the better glove men in the MLB, and he puts the ball in play. He's like the only other Yankee that actually puts the ball in play consistently. Greg Allen, he's been a godsend. Signed to a minor league deal in the offseason. He's been very good for them so far. I don't know if he keeps it up, but this team is different. This team is improved. This team is better defensively. They're not good defensively. They still suck, but they're better. They're way better defensively. They got some, veterans, real savvy veterans. Rizzo, Gallo, they've been around the block before. So
and veterans of playoff success like an Anthony Rizzo, who was on that championship-winning Cubs team.
Right, and I mean Joey Gallo hasn't won a lot, but his first 2 years in the league, the Rangers won their division. As a matter of fact, his second year in the league, the Rangers had the best record in the AL, and then went one and done in the playoffs. But hey, who's counting?
But again, it's big too, just getting those, because those names that you just said, Rizzo and Gallo, they're what the Yankees were looking for, all season long. They were constructed to be this home run hitting team, and for a while they really weren't.
No,
and
I mean they were looking for
immediately came in and made that impact against Miami. Yeah,
they were looking for an in-house solution that wasn't there. I mean, I don't know how much the coronavirus affected Glaber, but his offense is not where it needs to be. Obviously, Gio isn't going to carry a team. Gio's going to be productive, but Gio's not going to carry a team. Aaron Judge is going to do Aaron Judge things. Stanton's going to be inconsistent. Hicks was horrible. Frazier was horrible. Andujar is not horrible, but Andujar is not good. Voit was not good. I know he had a big game against Seattle, so that inflated his batting average, but he doesn't have a lot of at-bats this year. Most of the year, it's been more bad than good. Sanchez, ditto, more bad than good. Now, I mean, Greg Allen, I don't know where they're going to play him because he's not a good center fielder, but right now, I guess he's the center fielder.
Probably Stanton somewhere.
Well, Stanton's going to be DHing, because he's not going to be playing left field anymore. So you're going to have Gallo in left, Judge in right, Allen in center, Stanton DHing, Rizzo at first, DJ at second, Gio at third. The only hole defensively is Sanchez behind the plate and Glaber at shortstop. Those are important. those are very important holes to have. You'd like to have a good defensive shortstop and catcher, but hey, you know what? At least some other holes are plugged. This is a much better Yankees team right now. And
I was going to say, I think this is the biggest win for Cashman all season long because he finally, I think, woke up and realized these in-house solutions, as you put it, they're just not working. For maybe a series or two, they're good. Or maybe switching around some position players, it works. But, again, those losses to the AL rivals, I think, were wake-up calls that how the team was constructed prior to the deadline, showed that they really couldn't be that playoff potential team. Now, I think this is the first time since the beginning of the season where I really felt like, hey, this team can find a way to go on a 12-3, a 15-5 run over the next month and really change the tempo and the outlook of not only the wild card race, but the AL East as well. You still got 60 games, which was what all of last season was left to go. And we saw last season, quite literally anything can happen in those 60 games.
That's a lot less realistic. Boston has just squashed them this year when they played, and Tampa actually just swept Boston to take first place in the AL East. And Tampa, I know that the Yankees just took 2 of 3 from Tampa, but Tampa's got the Yankees number. Okay. The Yankees played them better this year than they did last year because it's hard to be worse than they did last year. but I don't think that it's realistic that they win the division. But it's very realistic that they get that second wild card seed, because Oakland has really just been maintaining. They peaked earlier in the year. They've just been playing 500, maybe a little below since then. And right now, I mean, Seattle is well overdue for a regression. They're not a wild card team, but they're right ahead of the Yankees in the wild card race. And they play the Yankees, right? Don't they come to New York for 4 games? So, and the Yankees already took 2 of 3 from them. So I think that the Yankees really have a good shot to make the wild card this year. I don't think that I still think that this team against the other playoff teams is the worst team in the postseason. I mean, the Astros are better than the Yankees. The Red Sox are better than the Yankees. The Rays are better than the Yankees. The White Sox are better than the Yankees. But at least they get there. At least they will get to play a playoff game, potentially a home playoff game if they get the home seed, which is unrealistic, again, because the home seed is going to be second place in the AL East, and the Yankees probably not going to be second place. But if they get a home playoff game, they can get – let me rephrase that. They can get a home playoff game coming off of a year where they had no fans, right? So that's big for the Steinbrenner's wallet right there. That's at this point the only reason why I'm hoping the Mets win their division, just so that way – Cohen can get some more money in his pocket. Maybe we can have a big offseason next year, because it's starting to become that time of year again for the Mets fans.
You know what impressed me most about the Mets this weekend? Yeah, the Reds gave them a tough time. But last night, Brandon Drury and Dom Smith and all these guys in the late innings, first of all, came back from a deficit, but the way they did it, they didn't try to kill the ball, and the pitch that Drury hit to bring home the winning run, he dug it out of the ground.
Yeah,
and he basically hit a chip shot with a pitching wedge.
Right. I mean, he threw his hands at it and it poked through. That's the negative of the shift, is when you have a major league hitter up at the plate. First of all, dumbest thing in baseball.
Actually knows what to do.
Right.
Instead of trying to go launch angle. Yeah, what was the launch angle on that hit?
I don't know, -5 degree. I don't know. Who cares?
Exactly.
The dumbest thing in baseball is when you play a hitter to shift and then you pitch him away. Like, you're asking for it. I get it. What you want him to do is roll over, but the easiest way to get him to hit it into the shift is by throwing him inside. So if you're going to throw him a breaking ball in the outside corner, the only place he can get a base hit to is to the right side. So if you're just going to give him the right side, you are guaranteeing a walk-off single. Because at least
but you're rolling the dice. You're hoping he misses it.
Right, exactly. And Brandon Drury has not been missing. I mean, he started July with 8 straight hits.
Yeah, there's only one problem. Please explain to me, how can you go 11 for 15 in 7 games? Meaning, when you're going 11 for 15, how can you only have 15 at-bats in 7 games?
Yeah, because he was on their AAA team, and he's only on the major league roster because Jose Peraza's hurt. And Jose Peraza's been doing exactly what Drury did all year. Statistically different because Peraza's been terrible in his starts, but he's got a couple pinch hit doubles, pinch hit homers, a couple of really big hits. Remember, he tied the game off of Josh Hader with the pinch hit home runs. Mm-hmm. It's Hader's only blown save, and but Drury obviously
needs to be in the lineup more.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, with the way that Conforto's struggling, and I think Nimmo's got a bit of a sore hamstring, and Guillorme just went down on the
Guillorme went down today as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, next couple of weeks for an oblique strain.
Right.
So that's the thing with.
It's not an oblique. Well. No, it's not an oblique. It's a hamstring, I thought.
And I'll double check that. But again, that's the thing too with this Mets team, is that they've been, putting scraps in their lineup all season long, patching up all the injury woes.
That's unfair.
The season.
That's unfair to these players, though. They're not scraps. I mean, some of these guys, Kevin Pillar is a good player. Jonathan Villar is a former stolen base champion. Jose Peraza was a full-time player in Cincinnati, hit 290, 288 to be exact one year. Drury was a everyday player in Arizona for 2 years. He was supposed to be a stud for the Yankees, and I don't know. It just didn't work out. And then
Andujar came up. The thing, though, is that you got a lot of these guys where again they have that reputation where it's a left hamstring strain, by the way, for Guillaume. But
Good,
they didn't have a lot of success in their prior campaigns, and are either doing AAA ball or filling in for the usual Mets starters. And the Mets have really shown their identity of being that scrappy team that more often than not this season, when their back's against the wall, they're going to find a way to, as you guys said, find the open hole in the field and hit it there and stack up enough hits to where they're able to get, force those tying runs or go ahead winning runs like yesterday.
Yeah.
And even as well, you just seen the new piece in Javi Baez yesterday with a big home run to get them within one run yesterday.
They have spunk for sure. There's no denying that the New York Mets are never out of it. Okay, but if you keep digging yourselves holes, you're gonna start running out of luck. Okay, they can't keep waiting for the 7th inning. Like, that's literally what they're doing. They're like, okay, the first 6 innings, we're just going to get a feel for it. And then in the 7th, we're going to start trying. You ever see that internet meme of the guy sitting back in his chair playing video games and then he's leaned forward? It's like, oh, once you fall behind 14-0 in Madden, and then it shows him like leaning forward, because when you lean forward, you start taking it more seriously. That's the Mets offense. It's like the first 6 innings, they're just sitting back, lackadaisical, doesn't matter. Now the game's intense. It's 2-1 in the 7th inning. And then, someone hits a home run that you didn't expect. And then someone hits an RBI single with 2 strikes and 2 outs. And then the bullpen locks it down. That's how the Mets have been winning all year. But that's too easily exploitable. When a great offense like the Atlanta Braves comes in, they're not going to be shut down forever. I mean, Austin Riley hit like 10 home runs against them. Freddie Freeman has never made an out in his career against the Mets. He's literally batting 1,000. Look it up. I'm not making it up. I am making it up. But he,
But it seems that way for sure.
Right. But if you keep digging yourselves big holes, you're going to stop coming out of it. I mean.
And we saw that today in the.
Yeah, we did see that today. You can't. I said this earlier in the year because the Mets were off to a good start. They were 10 games above 500. They were 35-25, right? 10 games above 500 through the first 60. That's on pace for like 94 wins. That's going to be a really good team. And I think now they're only 6 games above 500, right? So you could do the math there. They're 4 games below 500 since that point.
Yep.
And still in first place.
Right. Yeah. They've gotten nothing but help. I mean, the Pirates took 2 of 3 from the Phillies. They ought to send the Pirates a bouquet of flowers or something.
Well, that's been the point.
I
in
said
the National
earlier,
East.
Yeah.
Is that the teams chasing them have been treading water at best.
Yeah.
And people have been waiting with futility, I have to admit.
Yeah.
For one of these teams to break out. The Nationals aren't doing it. They just blew up their team.
They just tore the team down, and the Marlins tore the lineup. They didn't tear the whole team down, but they tore the lineup down, So now you got two teams officially declaring they're out of it. But then the Phillies, sometimes the Phillies are the best team in baseball on a given day. And they also have the worst bullpen in baseball, but they've also got very good starting pitching and horrible defense. So I don't know, figure them out. They've got a good lineup and a horrible a good lineup.
Nothing the Mets shouldn't be able to handle.
Horrible bullpen.
The Mets should be able to handle that.
They should. No, the Mets should win this. The Mets should still win 92 games. Like they still.
And that should be enough to win the division.
92 wins usually is like the 3rd division champion, in both leagues usually.
Of the weakest, yes, the weakest division, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, and not that 92 wins is a bad team. 92 wins is a very good team, but when you stack them up against the other.
You have an NL West with 3 60-plus win teams and 61 win Padres who are in 3rd. And then on the other side, you have the Brewers in first place with the Reds. Brewers are at 63 wins and the Reds at 56. Getting help from winning the series and winning 7 out of their last 10 games.
Right. Well, the Reds are sneakily good. The Reds are unlucky that the Giants
was right there. One of the reasons why he makes the Reds look like still there somewhere.
Yeah.
Great point. He was on a historic tear with 8 consecutive games.
Seven.
Seven.
Almost
Seven.
8.
Seven
Inch away.
almost 8.
An inch away from 8. And that was the reason why the Mets were able to win that game, you know. But anyway, the Reds are sneakily good. They have a very good offense, and they play.
It's good hitting. It's just they have no bullpen.
They play good defense, and they have good starting pitchers. Sonny Gray, Wade Miley. Those are not scrubs, but yeah, their bullpen's weak. Their bullpen's very weak.
They are. Sonny Gray used a former Yankee. Wade Miley, a former Astro. They have experience being top notch. So when you had the Reds put up that, I mean, you can give that rotation some credit where credit is.
Yeah. The bottom of their rotation has no business being in baseball. That's part of being a mediocre team. Is, you know, you're not a complete. Not everybody is a good player, right? I mean,
there's a reason why you're a 92 wins instead of 102 wins, and that's usually at the back of the rotation. You're 4 and you're 5 usually let you down.
Well,
the Mets really haven't had.
Yeah, but 92 wins. 92 wins is a good team, though. Like, if you miss the playoffs,
it's a good team.
Wins. Yeah, it's
a good team
right?
in a weak division.
There's no
Yankees
shame in
won
being a
in
good
'96. They won 92 games.
Right.
Okay. And they backed into the 2000 division championship with 87.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, hold on. Because I digressed earlier. What I was saying when I was talking about the Mets being 10 games above 500 when they were 35 and 25, I was saying earlier this year that in order to be a great team, you have to be great. You have to beat up on the bad teams, and you have to play 500 ball versus the good teams.
Right.
Okay. You have to be great at home and 500 on the road. And the Mets were doing that.
Beat the teams you should beat.
Yes.
And go 500 against the teams that you might not be able to beat so easily.
And the Mets were, you know, they won the season series against the Padres while the Padres were playing their best baseball. They won the season series. No, but they took 2 of 3 from the Brewers. They still have to play another 3-game series, but they took 2 of 3 from the Brewers right before the All-Star break. That was the last time we saw Jacob deGrom on the mound.
And won't see him again until probably early September.
Yeah, who knows? But
it's that forearm injury.
You know, they were playing good against good teams. They were playing good, not average. They were playing well against good teams and doing their job against the bad teams. Recently, I don't know who they've been doing their job against. I mean, blowing that game, the last game before the All-Star break, that was the difference between splitting a 4-game series and taking 3 of 4 against Pittsburgh. And then they come out and then they have another historic meltdown, right? And they lose 2 of 3 to the Pirates. So you go 3 and 4 against the second worst team in the league. That's horrible. And then you split against the Cincinnati Reds. Look, here's the truth. Okay, I know don't look at the record. Who's the better team, the Mets or the Reds? The Mets. The Mets are the better team. The Mets are more talented.
Not by
the Mets
much.
Are deeper. No, not well. The rosters, the Mets are way better. The win-loss record, I don't even think the Mets are better. But
it's the same win-loss record.
Yeah, right. Or like eerily
because they have the same amount of wins at 56.
Yeah, and the Mets probably have like less games.
Just to wrap it up, a couple minutes left. I think a big part of that those meltdowns and the future of this Mets team is going to come down to pitching. It's a lot harder with your ace, Jacob deGrom, out for the next month.
That's true.
And August, of course, this is the month of meltdowns. And every month, I think every Mets fan dreads being in first place because they're usually chasing, trying to reach the top as opposed to defending the lead.
But
and
the Mets have...
If there's any LOL Mets situation, it would be that. But the
Mets have been a second half 2015, 2016, 2019, their last 3 winning seasons.
It's not
August and September. August and September in their last 3 winning seasons. They've been one of the best teams in baseball. In 2019, they were the best team in baseball post All-Star break. But they've got 13 games in a row against the Giants and Dodgers. It gets worse before it gets better. And then they get to play like 12 games against the Nationals and like 13 games against the Marlins. So it gets better, but it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah, they're really going to have
to
guys, that in order to survive and stay in first place well enough. They're still three and a half games out of first place. The Phillies are in second right now, and we know what everything is looking like. The Nationals and Cubs have pretty much been shopped out well, so knowing that threat right there at this rate could be the Phillies that could really contend with And you also have the Braves, and it's going to be
Yeah, Philly
Right,
for
and that-
sure. And this Miami
Guys,
series is going to be key.
it's
They
midnight.
got to win that series.
yeah, and we're really going to have to, and we'll talk more about this next week, depending on how they look in this upcoming week.
We got a lot more to talk about, too. NBA free agency, more Olympics, training camp for football, a lot. And, of course, we'll continue to have Stony Brook athletes as guests, but it's time to call it a night here on the sports section on WUSB Stony Brook. Many thanks to Raina Sabella from the women's lacrosse team for the time she spent with us. On behalf of Ken Furman, Zach Wilson, Mike Anderson, and myself, Matt Mankiewicz, have a great sports week, everybody, and we shall see you next week.